Hello everyone and welcome back to the Career Success Masterclass. Now today we are going to deal with a very important session, a very important topic, and that is how to draft your resume. Now that's very critical because anytime that you want to apply for a job, and not just for a job, even if you are self-employed and you want to apply for a bank loan or you want to meet the investors, in startup, you have to make your resume. So resume is important for every working professional out there. So let's see today how to build a resume, what are the current trends which are followed in the industry, and how you will win the interview, or you will make a good position of winning an interview just by making an excellent resume. Okay, so let's start today's session. It will be very interesting for you guys. So the first point is that the latest trends out there. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah, thank you. So the latest trends which are being followed in the industry in the current times, the one most important thing which is happening is a lot of big companies. Now this is happening with big companies, not with the smaller ones, but yes, in time to come, even the smaller companies will adopt this technology, which is called as the ATS. Now that is called as the application tracking system. So what these big companies do is that they employ a technology which is called as application tracking system. So all the applications which are received by the company, that is basically all the resumes and CVs that come to the company, are pushed through this technology, because lakhs and lakhs of applications are received every single day. So they push it through the system, and the ATS recognizes, it reads the resume, it recognizes your skills, it recognizes your experience, your education, and all other details, and then it matches it with the job description of the company for that particular job role, and if it matches, it will push it through to the next process. That is, then the next processes, of course, are the physical interviews and the other processes which are there, the assessments and all, right? So the first threshold is the ATS. So your resume has to be in line with the principles of application tracking system followed by that particular company. Then only it will get through and you will go to the next round of interviews. So the first thing is how to crack this ATS. Okay. Earlier the points were how to crack the interviews. Now there's another question added to the list, how to crack the ATS. So it has to be a work of art. So these days the old-fashioned resumes don't work. They have to be in line with the new trends. So they have to be work of art, optimized with keywords. So ATS recognizes the keywords. So your resume must have those keywords. So that's what we are going to discuss today. What are those keywords which are absolutely necessary and they should be there in your resume? Expertly crafted to get through the ATS. Okay, it should pass through the ATS. It should be recognized by ATS as one of the good resumes, and specifically tailored and customized for each job while applying for. So two things are most important. Number one is optimize with keywords, and number two, you have to make a resume specifically for each job that you are applying for. So the old fashioned resume is gone, where you used to have one resume and you used to apply the same resume for any given company. So that will not work in the present times. You have to draft a specific resume for each job role that you are applying. Okay. So how to make such a resume? Let's see. So we'll start with certain basics. We'll discuss basically the 3 points. What are the basics of a resume? What it should contain? Then we'll see some mistakes also. okay, which you have to avoid while drafting your resume. And the third thing we are going to see is the optimization process, okay, specifically for the application tracking system. So let's start with the basics first. So the first thing is the format. Okay, so first thing you have to look at is how you will format your resume. So from formatting point of view, you have to follow these guidelines. They should have wide margins. Okay, don't use the whole page edge to edge. Don't use that. So leave specific margins. Use a standard font, the standard fonts which are available in all the computers. Okay, whether it is a MacBook or your Windows based system, because if it is not having a usual font, and if you use some very specifics, very one-off fonts which every computer will not have, then probably if it's a PDF format, then probably it will be readed. Otherwise, if it's a Word format and if that font is not available with the interviewer or the HR manager of their company, then he will not be able to see it properly. So use the normal fonts which are available on all the computers. Okay. Clearly define headings, obviously, and we'll discuss all these points in detail. There should be proper spacing, not everything clubbed together. Selectively use bold and italic fonts. So you can bold certain words or use italics to help guide a reader's eye so that they're attracted towards those things. So whatever are the important aspects, like the keywords, like some accomplishments, the awards that you have won. So you want people to read those things, should be kept in bold or italic font. Okay, and use bullet points also for calling attention to important points, like listing your accomplishments at former jobs. Okay, so these should be used selectively. If you put everything in a bullet point, then it will not work. So first thing is formatting. Second thing is you have to list your accomplishments. So when you write your experience section, which is the most important point, yeah. So the most important point of your, if you're not a fresher, I mean to say, if you're a fresher, then of course the education is the main point. But if you have an experience, then your experience takes up the most important element of your resume. Now, while drafting your experience section, I'll give you a few tips which are not written in this slideshow, but you can note it down if you can. So first thing is, write all the companies separately. That's quite a common thing. So first you mention the latest company. The first company that you mention in your experience is your latest company that you are still working in or you have just left, for example. Write the time or the duration within which you work for that particular company. Even the year is okay. That if you can mention the month also, that will be more detailed. April 2020 to March 2022. Okay, so write the month if you know it, or just the years is fine enough. Then specify the job roles separately. So if it was a long stint with a particular company and during that tenure you occupied say 3 job roles, you were promoted 3 times, so you joined as a junior manager, then you went to become a senior manager, and then you went to the CXO level. So write each job role separately. Now when you mention each job role, you also mention the projects that you have worked on in that particular job role. So which projects you had undertaken during that job role. And if you know the client's name, if the client for which the project was done was an outside client, mention the name of the client as well. So that adds to the experience that you have worked with so many, big companies. So not just this company, your parent company, but also your clients. So if your clients are also good, like if you're working in Infosys and your client was Government of India, so you are working on the income tax site, okay, for the development of the income tax and the GST sites, then mention that. So mention the name of the clients as well. Apart from that, mention all the skills that you have used in those particular job roles and the projects. So what skills you have used specifically, okay? So like you are a developer and you have used certain programming languages, Okay, so mention them clearly that in this particular project we have used these skills, these languages. Okay, also try to mention the outcomes, the accomplishment. So that is what is given here. So what was the focus area and what you accomplished? So if I just mention there that, okay, I have used Java and I have used Spring Boot and this and this and this, or Python, that is not good enough. Because in what sense you have used it? It's a big language. So what was the particular usage and what was the outcome by using that particular skill or the programming language? That has to be mentioned very clearly so that the HR manager can clearly distinguish your skills, okay, with pinpoint accuracy, and he knows that what level of skill you have. So mention the specific usage, that what kind of problem did you solve with this skill, what were the outcome that you achieved. Okay, so go into these specific elements. So these are very important when you lay down your experience. And then, so starting with the latest experience with XYZ company, and then the previous one and the previous one and the previous one. So you go backwards till the first job you have ever done. And these days there's another thing happening, that people are switching jobs, and we are going to take another session on that, on switching jobs and why you should do that. So, and people switch jobs and people even take breaks these days. They have their freelancing thing side by side going on, or maybe they leave a job and then do freelancing for some time, then come back to a corporate job. So there is intermixing of, you know, the full-time job roles or the part-time job roles, the freelancing work that you do, and also the startups. So I have seen many people who leave their full-time jobs, go for a startup, work there some years. If it succeeds, well. If it doesn't, they come back to a corporate job. So now if you leave that time as blank, like you were working with ABC company, then you took a break of 3 years, tried your hand at a startup, and now you're again going for interview for XYZ, right? So what will you write for these 3 years? You cannot show it as blank, right? So mention your experience with startup as well. Okay, so in your experience, you include all kinds of experience that you have, not just a full-time job, but also a part-time one, also your freelancing jobs that you have done, as well as your startups or any other business that you have done in the past, or your professional experience. Okay, so mention everything. Try to include everything in your experience. Another point, that if you have taken sabbatical, yeah, so sabbatical, that's also very interesting. Specifically, if you are trying a job in a foreign country out of India, maybe in US or UK or somewhere else. So they also give a weightage for your sabbatical experience, like somebody has gone on a world tour of 1 year. So what did you experience there? What was the experience? What you have brought back with you, okay, which will help in the next company, because the next company is a global size company, and they have their ventures across the world, and it would help them if you have a touring experience of the whole world. So you have visited different countries, you have seen different cultures, you have experienced with people out there. Okay, so this will help you get that job. So mention that experience as well, even if it is not a job experience, but you have devoted some time in a particular activity, you mention that as well. Okay, so it can be sports related activity, it can be travel, it can be some other thing that you have done during that time, because companies these days look in a holistic view. They don't just look at your work experience. So therefore we don't call it as work experience alone, we call it as experience. So when you say experience, it includes everything. So make it as holistic as possible, and that adds value to your CV. Okay, so I hope I have made all the points very clear from experience point of view. So list your accomplishments and focus on your success and problem solving abilities. So this is it should be in a story form, you know. So while writing experience as well, I have seen many resumes and they just mention very technically. So job role, senior accountant or senior so and so, and then they just put on the roles and responsibilities. So don't do like that. Of course, you have to put the roles and responsibilities, but make a story around it. And the best story is the problem solving. You have to portray yourself as a person who can solve any problem. And you have to bring out your cognitive skills as well. Okay, these are very important nowadays. So your ability, your grit, your determination, your perseverance, your resilience, how will you write about these things in your resume? Through a story. So when you're mentioning that, okay, I worked in this particular job role, so what kind of problems did you face and how you solve this problems with your inherent skills? Okay, so write a small story in 2 lines or 3 lines and then follow it by the actual job role and the responsibilities that you handled. Okay, so don't just mention words like the job role. I was a senior accountant, I handle SAP, I handle this, I handle that. No, that is, very dry. So build a story around it and how you did these job roles and how you took your responsibilities, and what kind of results you brought for the company, what kind of problems you solved, what kind of benefits you derived for the company or generated for the company. So that will add a great value and you have a very good chance of getting the next job. Okay, and use specific things like percentages, dollars, numbers, specific numbers. Don't just quote that due to my efforts the company's profit rose by multitude, by many times. What do you mean by many times? What do you mean by multitude? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so give specific numbers if you have them. Don't fake it. But if you have the numbers, give specific numbers that profit rose by 10% during my tenure as a CEO of the company, or the sales, I turned around the sales from 200 millions to 600 millions during 3 years. So write the specific numbers. Okay, just give me a second. Yes. Then going on to the next point, position yourself for the job you want. Now, very crucial. So now we are entering the specifics. Okay, position yourself for the job you want. So as I said in the beginning, you have to make a resume tailored for each particular job role. So if I'm applying for a particular job role, say for example, since I am a chartered accountant, so let me talk from an accounting job point of view. So if I'm applying for a senior accountant's job in Infosys, okay, so I know that the company is a technology company and they have certain specific requirements and they have certain softwares that they use. Okay, so they work on SAP, they work on Oracle or whatever software they use, the ERP package, and these are the specifics. How do you find it? From the job description. So you'll find these details from the job description and you research about that company also. Okay, do your own research about the company. Never apply for a job without researching, about the company in the first place. So do your research, talk to people out there who have already worked in that company, in that particular functional area, and make your notes. And then tailor-made your CV in such a way that it is specifically for that job role. So you have done a lot of things in life, you've got a lot of experience, but since I'm applying for company A, out of my 15 experiences, 3 are relevant. So I'll find out which is the relevant information, which is, which is directly comparable to this particular job role. And now I'll highlight those 3 experiences out of the 15. So I'll put them first, these 3 experiences, and then I'll follow with the other experiences. So here you can depart from the chronological order of experience as well. So mention those 3 companies first, which are directly, related to this particular job role that I'm applying for. So they may be at different points of time, but I'll write them first and then I'll follow by other experiences. So you can do that as well. Okay, so position yourself for the job you want. State your skills and qualities in a way that makes it easy for prospective employers to see you filling the open position. So they should feel that, yeah, this person is the right person for this job. Like you do in matrimonial. Now, this is a joke, but yes, you can take some clue out of it. So when you see that the matrimonial ad says that we are looking for a fair girl, so when the girl is applying for that matrimonial, she'll write that, yes, I am fair. Okay. Now that fairness can be color or can be your perspective in life. Okay. So jokes apart. So, write your skills and qualities matching with that particular job role. Like for example, the first two words of your resume should position you for the job that you want. Okay, so the first two words are very important. How you describe yourself: Farooq, accounting manager, or communications director, or whatever the job role is. So the first thing you'll do is, when you write your name and below that you write your designation, so mention that. This is how you'll introduce yourself, tailor-made for that particular job role. So now you will ask me a question: so will we make separate resumes for each job that we apply for? Obviously, yes. Absolutely, yes. You have to redraft your resume for every single job that you are applying for. Okay. So you don't have to change everything. You have to just change a few words, a few things, and specifically your description. So description is very important. And the second line after that should be a differentiator, because there will be many people who will be writing accounting manager. Now, how are you different from them? How do you stand out? So that you will write in the second line. So this will be a detail, a brief about yourself, which differentiates you from all other accounting managers out there. Okay. So like specializing in the publishing industry. So as I said, if Infosys needs an accounts manager, I'll write myself as specializing in IT industry. If I'm applying for Reliance, I'll say specializing in that particular business. So it's like that. Then next point is that determine the skills and qualities according to the job description. So this is in continuation of the previous point. Read the job description and desired qualifications very carefully. So you must read the job description very carefully regarding the skills needed and the qualifications. Now you go back to your own experience and search for the matching experience and then mention that first. Okay, as I just told you. So write a summary at the top of your resume to position yourself. And the summary part is also very crucial because it builds that storyline. So this is, this is like a trailer. Your summary is like a trailer of a movie. So you write all the important points in a summarized manner in this summary, which is directly linked with that job role. It makes you the most attractive candidate for the job role. And then everything that follows, your job experience, your projects, your skills that you will mention later on in the resume, as well as your qualifications and all, that will be then building on that story. So your full resume should be a story, okay? And the summary should be the trailer. So that's it. Then moving ahead, customize your resume for each position, as I just said. So craft your real skills, experience and knowledge in a way that will convince hiring managers that you are the best person for the job. So you're not going to change your experience, you're not going to change your skills, the skills are the same. But say if I have resilience, I'm a very resilient person. So I'll write about this skill in a different way for each job role. Okay, if I am say having experience in Python, so I'll write my experience in different way to suit that particular job role. That's important. Then keep the job description in mind, obviously, and change your objective, summary or opening statement with each application. Right? So this is now made very clear. Great. For example, You can use the exact position title as seeking the position of marketing manager in healthcare industry, if you're applying for a job role in healthcare industry. Then the next point is don't exaggerate. Obviously, never write anything which is not correct or which you cannot verify. Okay, don't exaggerate, because recruiters do background checks nowadays. Don't put a lie about anything. Don't lie about your degree, don't lie about your experience, don't lie about anything. Never say lies in your resume. Okay, because ultimately you are going to get caught and thrown out. Then the next topic we are going to discuss is the optimization. So optimizing your resume to crack the ATS is also very important. So fine tune your resume and make use of important keywords. So this is the first most important point, the keywords. Now you'll ask me a question that where will I find the keywords from and which keyword should I use? What do you mean by keywords? So keywords means the important words. They can be skills, they can be experience, they can be qualification, okay, which are mentioned in the job description. So whatever is mentioned in the job description will become the keyword for that particular job role. Okay, this is important. So if the job description says 7 years of experience, then 7 years experience becomes the keyword. 7 years is a keyword. The duration of experience becomes a keyword. Experience in doing this kind of work. So that this, the description given there is the keyword. Then they will mention the skills. The person should have experience in, or you can say he should be well versed with this kind of language. So that language becomes a keyword. Well versed becomes a keyword. So they will mention the experience in different ways. They can mention it as well versed. They can mention it as working knowledge. They can mention it as expert level knowledge in this particular thing. So keep track of what are the adjectives. Is it requiring expert knowledge? Does it require working knowledge or medium grade? Which kind of knowledge is required? Which kind of experience they are asking for? So those words are the keywords. Apart from the skill itself, the word which identifies the level of that skill, the experience level, is also a keyword. So now when I draft my resume, I will use all those keywords. So if they have said expert knowledge, I will write, I have expert knowledge in Java. If they say working knowledge, I will say, okay, I have working knowledge in Java. But now if you really have an expert knowledge, and are you going to write working knowledge? Are you going to demean or, pull down your experience? I would say yes, if you want the job, but that's not advisable, because people don't hire a person having more caliber than what the job role needs. It's not a good fit. So if you have expert level knowledge and the job is for junior level of knowledge, so you can mention the junior level, because of course you have the junior level knowledge, you are already an expert. So if you write junior level, you will fit in that. The ATS will pick up your CV. Okay, but that will be demeaning to you yourself in the long run, because now you will get an experience at the junior level, so it will take time to rise up in that organization. And normally in the interview process, if the interviewer recognizes your skill, your real skill, that you are much more skilled than what the job role needs, they will reject you. They'll reject you because of two reasons. Number one, you are more skilled, so you may create problems in that particular job role. You will want you to be promoted very soon, or you will leave the organization too early, because you will not fit, you will not be satisfied, and therefore you will leave the organization. So the attrition will happen. So why to waste time on such a candidate? Yeah, so people don't prefer. So write them correctly. Second point, so use the keywords from the JD and put them in the CV or your resume. Next is use job description language. So again, even the language part should match. Okay, use the exact words in your resume. Like I said, expert level knowledge, working level knowledge. So use the same words, try to use them. And recruiters and the ATS are searching for industry terminology and professional verbiage. So the use of words basically. So use the industry accepted terminologies. Then detail your skills. So when you write your skills section, that is very important point, because today the hiring basically depends on the skills. Earlier it used to depend on educational qualifications. Now it is 90% dependent on the skills and the use of those skills. So you can mention here all those points out of the JD. So take the points out of the job description and mention them clearly in your resume. And add things like clarifications, computer program proficiency by actual name like Python, Adobe, and so on and so forth. Okay. The same thing and the same way it is mentioned in the job description. Don't try to invent your own words. Okay. And see that you don't misspell anything, because if you misspell a keyword, then the ATS will not recognize it and you are gone. So that will be to your detriment. And check all the spelling errors. Use computer spell check as well as read out loudly and ask someone to proofread it. Then use your location as a keyword, because sometimes the companies are looking for location as well, because if it's an in-office job, then they look for the location. So use your location also as a keyword. Or if you're not staying in that city now, at least you mention in your CV that you want to relocate to that particular city. Then do not use acronyms. The ATS doesn't recognize acronyms, so don't use short forms, use full forms for everything. Then skip white text. So what people do is that just because they want to include the keywords, you have to write something around it. You have to build a sentence. No? You just can't write a keyword and then full stop, another keyword, full stop. You cannot do that. So you write a lot of things which are not true. So don't build a story around a keyword which is not true. So don't use white text. Then look at company and culture as well. So because there are a lot of keywords which may not be there in the job description. Okay. So when I said do your research about the company first. So when you read the website of the company, you look at who are the managers in the company, who has formed that company, what is the vision statement, mission statement, what they are trying to do. Read the annual reports, at least 2-3 annual reports, because that lays down the future plan of the company as well. The managing director normally mentions the future plan of the company, what they're trying to achieve in the next 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. So read the annual reports and they will be available on the website of the company. So read the annual reports, read the future plans, the vision, and the culture that the company follows. So you'll find a lot of keywords from there also. Try to mention them, because you have to align yourself not just to the job but also to the culture of the company, the vision of the company. Okay. Then keep it clean. So you remove all the graphics, because ATS cannot read graphics, it only reads words. So if you mention too many things in graphical format, the ATS will not be able to read it. So remove all the graphics, cut the irrelevant past positions or fillers, skip special characters, don't use special characters, avoid fancy borders, in the formatting, and no columns, tables, and charts, please. Okay, keep this in mind. Then don't force it. Don't use keywords that are not relevant to you. If they're not there, they are not there. So don't try to include every keyword. And optimize your LinkedIn profile as well. So we are going to take another session maybe tomorrow on this, how to optimize your LinkedIn profile, because invariably in your resume you have to give your LinkedIn URL as well. Okay, and that is good. You should mention your LinkedIn URL in your resume, and people are going to check about you. So if they find something different out there in your LinkedIn profile than what you have mentioned in your, the resume, then it may not seem to be good. Okay, conflict should not happen. So you should mention the same things in your LinkedIn profile as well. So it supports your resume. And a lot of people search for good candidates on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn has the best recruiter platform. Then coming to the last point, and that is what mistakes you should avoid. So first is the typos, like extra s, or the common mistake there, they are. So these are the small mistakes that we make, but they look very foolish in the resume. So don't make any mistake. Then generic copy, like one resume fits everything. No, those days are gone. You have to make a specific resume for each job role that you are applying for. Okay. You can have a general resume, a generic one, which if people come to your resume and download it, then they'll find it. But if you are applying specifically for jobs, you have to make a specific resume. Okay. And lack of specifics. So don't use very broad phrases specifically in your job role description. Be very specific, because most broad phrases are virtually meaningless. Like an example is given there, led the IT team to influence company growth. Now what does that mean? What is the growth? So be very specific. Use numbers, use percentages, show the actual growth that you have achieved, 20%, 30%, 70%, okay, or so many millions. And when you add concise details about strategies and outcomes, it makes a big impression, obviously. And don't make a resume either too long or too short. Don't make it a half page or maybe a 5-page resume. Now it will depend upon what information you want to put out there, the most relevant and important information which matches the job description. Now it can be 1 page, it can be 2 pages, but it should not go beyond 2 pages ideally, and it should not be less than 1 page. So it can range from 1 to 2, maximum 2.5 to 3 if you have so much of relevant information to put. Okay, don't go beyond that. And no incorrect contact information. This is the biggest mistake you can make. The spelling mistake in your email address or your telephone number. So if you give a wrong telephone number, even though you are getting the job, you will not get it because nobody will be able to contact you. Okay, so your telephone number, your email address should be absolutely correct, and you should keep checking it also. Okay, check your emails every single day. So those were some of the important points of drafting your resume. And of course, we at Talent Place are building that platform itself, so which will be able to use it, okay, and make your super class, absolutely finest resume which highlights skills. So we are focusing on those points only. We are focusing on a skill based resume where all your skills will be identified, and you will be able to write about those skills, how you have used those skills to achieve specific results. And the resume that's going to come out is something out of the world, absolutely fantastic, and you can use the platform in time to come. That is talentplace.ai. So thanks all of you for today's session, and tomorrow we are going to discuss about LinkedIn optimization.